Our topic today is the story of Tinder Swindler. Bring a cup of tea or your favorite drink and let's get started. Social media has undeniably affected our daily lives so much that we can't even live without it. But the girls who applaud the next story have paid a high price for using a social media that they couldn't even imagine in their worst nightmare. And the next story was published in major European and American magazines and discussed on TV shows, and even Netflix made a movie about it. The story began with a dream that every girl dreams of meeting a dream boy who resembles a prince in fairy tales. And because we are in the age of technology, resorting to using technology is the fastest way. This is what the Norwegian girl Cecilia, who was living in London, did. And she used to browse the dating app Tinder to find a suitable person with whom to start a long-term relationship that could culminate in marriage. While browsing through the profiles of the users of the application, Cecilia immediately caught his attention and was attracted by his elegant clothes and way of life in which he appears to be a luxury person. Cecilia hastened to press the like button, and the surprise was that she received a response from the account owner immediately, called Simon Elvive. The speaker started liking her, and after exchanging conversations, he told her that he works in the diamond business and that his father is a famous Israeli billionaire and owns a diamond trading company, and he is currently working to finalize an important diamond deal. Suddenly, she found him inviting her to accompany him on a trip on his private plane. And it was a surprise to her because she had never boarded a private plane before. So she agreed immediately and told her friends, although they warned her, but she did not respond to them. While traveling, a surprise was waiting for her. She found his daughter accompanied by a woman. When she asked him who she was, he told her that she was his ex-wife, and that wife showed affection towards her and told her how wonderful he is. The date on the plane was great, as the plane was luxurious and had fine dining. And he invited her to eat after the flight in a fancy restaurant, and took her in a Rolls Royce, and everything seemed like a fantasy, except that he told her about the troubles of work, and that because of his disagreement with his partner they imprisoned him in South Africa, and tortured him for 2 years because he is a Jew. After that trip, the messages continued between them until he asked her for her residential address. And she found a bouquet of flowers she had never seen before arriving at her door. And so Cecilia lived moments of careers that she had never felt before. And her happiness increased when he told her that he wanted to stay with her forever, and that she should look for a house in London to live together. And indeed, she started searching, and he invited her again to visit him, but the visit this time was different. He told her that he was having trouble at work and that his enemies were threatening his life. And he showed her video clips he claimed were from his home in Israel of people breaking into his apartment. After she returned, he sent her pictures of his injured bodyguard and told her that he would have been killed had it not been for his guard, and then told her that he had to close his account on Tinder for security reasons. Suddenly, he told her that he would not be able to withdraw any money from his account, and that she had to bring him $25,000 in cash. Cecilia was shocked by what she saw and heard, and she was afraid of him. So she had to borrow the amount from her credit card and withdrew it from her account and actually went to him. But he told her that she must return to London and continue to write to him, then told her that he would send a credit card bearing her name so that his enemies could not keep track of his withdrawals. And indeed, he sent the card to her and began to withdraw from it, but he reached the maximum withdrawal limit. He told her that he would issue papers proving that she works for him in the company, and that her salary is large so that he can raise the credit limit on the card. Indeed, he implemented this procedure and began to borrow from several banks in the name of Cecilia, who was afraid and worried and did not know how to act. After his total loans amounted to about $250,000, Cecilia told him that she had to pay this amount, so he sent her a check. And when she tried to cash the check, she found that the bank refused. And when she called him, he asked her to try again, but to no avail. When she called him again, he told her he had paid her and had nothing to do with her anymore. Cecilia was horrified that she was in real trouble. She called American Express customer service and told them that she did not know how those loans were withdrawn, so they told her that they would send her clients, and when they arrived at her home, they asked to see pictures of him. And when she called them again to ask about their investigations, they told her to look for Shimon Hayat. And when she started searching on Google, she found an article in the Finnish press talking about him, so she translated it into English and found the title of the Israeli millionaire who deceives women. The article was talking about defrauding 3 girls from Finland in 2005, and they were protected by the police, and their private information was hidden. Cecilia was confused and did not know how to act, especially since the police had no evidence against him, and the first thing that crossed her mind was that she should publish her story and expose him so that he could not defraud other girls. She called the police, which did not have evidence to convict him, but Cecilia decided to contact the largest newspaper in Norway, and investigators for the newspaper began investigating the accidents, and journalists began searching for the 3 girls who had been defrauded in Finland. And when searching, the surprise was that the girl who claimed to be the mother of his daughter was from among these had testified against him in court in Finland. Through the fraudster's account on Instagram, the journalists were able to reach another girl called Pernilla from Sweden. The journalist participating in the investigation sent her a message telling her that he was a journalist, and that they were investigating cases of fraud carried out by the so-called Simon Elvive. She sent the letter to the fraud, who told her that this letter was from his enemies who were trying to get him. But Pernilla, who had already given Simon a lot of money from her account, began to doubt him, and asked him to send her money, and he sent her a check for a greater amount than the amount she had given him. But when trying to cash the check, she found it without credit. The justification was that he could not spend money because of troubles caused by his enemies, but she had confirmed that he was a fraud after linking the events to the stories she had heard from the journalist. But she also realized that he had spent much more money than the money he had stolen in Cecilia's name, so she concluded that there were other frauds. During the investigation, the journalists found a place of birth address in the indictment papers, so a team of the Norwegian police traveled to the place of birth of the fraudster in Israel, and they met his mother, but she told them that he no longer lives there and has changed his name and no longer calls her, and when the police asked about the new name, he named himself Elvive. When searching for him in his country, they found that he was accused in a case of fraud against his boss in 2011, and that he changed his real name to Simon Elvive. The fraudster called Pernilla again and asked her to travel to him in Munich to give her one of his valuable watches studded with diamonds to sell and get money. She arranged several procedures with journalists to arrest him, and when Pernilla traveled to Munich, she met his partner, who was talking about him often for the first time. The fraudster escorted Pernilla to a luxurious hotel, and upon his arrival she found that everyone in the place knew and welcomed him, and she immediately came to her mind that he had surely defrauded other women there. And then she obtained from him the watch he offered her, and when they left, the journalists were taking pictures of them in secret. But he noticed the presence of the paparazzi and tried to escape from them and his partner, and Pernilla tried to pretend that she did not know them. And when she got out of the car, she went to a pawn shop to sell the watch, which was a fake. After the pictures were taken, an article about the fraud was published in Norway's largest newspaper on the front pages, and his pictures were published under the name of a Tinder scammer. And other large European newspapers published the news, and the girls appeared on news programs across Europe and America to tell the story. And at this time, he was already defrauding other girls. One of them called Cecilia and Pernilla and told them the same details of their relationship. That girl tried to lure him until she got some luxury clothes from him and sold them to recover part of his money. And she also realized that he was unable to get more money. And she also realized that he was traveling to Greece with a forged passport. So she informed the police. Tinder scammer was arrested for forgery, deported to Israel, but only sentenced to 15 months in prison because of the old accusation. The girls couldn't prove the scams even when other people appeared who had been robbed by the Tinder scammer, and they were still paying the loans he took. But he was released after only 5 months, and he still lives in Israel and continues to lead a luxurious lifestyle. The end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget subscribe.